All right, so this one's kind of an interesting story. There's actually this thing called broken heart syndrome. And women apparently are dying from it at an 88% rate versus men's 12% rate. So there are a lot of women that are dying from something that is being called broken heart syndrome. Apparently, this is kind of a real medical thing where depression and sadness and anxiety can cause one of the valves in your heart to enlarge, and it can cause very serious problems. And it is affecting women, surprisingly, over the age of 40, I think it said. Let me bring this up here. This is from Medical Press. Broken heart syndrome is on the rise, especially among older women. This is from like 2 weeks ago. Broken heart syndrome, a life-threatening condition whose symptoms mimic a heart attack, is on the upswing according to new research that shows the sharpest increase among women 50 and older. Now, what happens around women around the age of 50 or so? Well, starting around their 40s and 50s, their attractiveness declines, their sexual marketplace value declines, their desirability declines, and they become the mom or the grandma. Now, when you're my mom or somebody else's mother, and you're a wife to a husband who's also in his 50s or 60s, you have a partner. You have somebody that loves you. You have a family. You have people surrounded with you that care for you. But if you're single, childless, and all you have is your career and another 15 years of work ahead of you until you can retire, well, seems a lot of women are not able to handle that. They say, published Wednesday in the Journal of the American Heart Association, the study examined 135,463 cases of broken heart syndrome in the U.S. hospitals from 2006 to 2017. So it's not a small study, 135,000 people. It found a steady annual increase among both women and men, with women making up 88.3% of the cases. So as marriages are on the decline, as divorces increase, as people are single in their senior years or going into their senior years, they're finding that both men and women, it is increasing over the years, a steady annual increase. However, women are making up 88.3% of that. That means men are 11.7% of it. Now, so basically, men make up 10% of it. That's not, it's bad, but it's a lot worse for women that basically 9 out of 10 of these are women. Now, I'm actually coming up on the age. People 50 and older, and now it's women 50 and older. I still go out and exercise. I do CrossFit, although I'm sore for days afterwards. I'm so out of shape. I do jiu-jitsu, ride my bike, take the dog out for a walk or a jog. My heart's fine. Why? Because as men are aging now from 2006 to 2017, we didn't have a ton of red pill content out there. A lot of young men were still like, I'm going to grow up and have a happy family and a happy life and a wife and a kids. A lot of young men are saying, okay, I gotta adjust my expectations. I'm going to put my happiness into my job and financial stability and some good friends, having guys and a good circle of friends that might. And then as they age, they go, you know what? I'm okay with this. But women still, a lot of women still will say, I'm strong and I'm independent and I don't need no man. Everybody wants me. I'm sexy and everyone wants my vagine. And then they get to be 40 and 50 and they're like, oh my God, I got to work the rest of my life. Until I retire. I don't have a man I can rely upon. I'm not married. I don't have kids, or I have kids, but dad's not around. And they're alone in their later years. And then it starts hitting home of, oh, this sucks. Now, it sucks. Maybe it sucks for a lot of men and women, but men are not as social as women. Men can handle it. Now, maybe a lot of these men that aren't included in this study are guys that decided to take a long-distance hole puncher and check out. Maybe they did. And that's not a good thing either. But I think as men grow up in this society, And they start at a younger age of realizing, hey, man, I'm going to be on my own. I got to do my own thing. I got to be happy on my own. This probably isn't going to happen for me. They adjust better. Where a lot of women are like, look at me, I'm pretty, I'm popular, everybody wants me. And so they think they're going to find Captain America, Chad Thunderstroke, that's going to save them before the end. And they wait too long, and then boom, reality comes crashing down, and they get into their 40s and 50s, and they're just going to be alone for the rest of their lives, unless they want to settle down with a 70-year-old dude. They say the overall increase wasn't expected as the condition has become increasingly recognized among medical professionals, says Dr. Susan Cheng, the study's senior author. But researchers were taken aback to find the rate of the condition was at least 6 to 12 times higher in women ages 50 to 74 than it was in men or in younger women. So men not affected, younger women not affected, women post-wall affected the most by a large margin. Why? Man, when that wall comes, when that reality hits you that you haven't secured a man, a family, someone that'll love you, someone that'll take care of you in your older years, and you're a woman, and you lose that sexual beauty and desirability, that's it. It's game over for you. And men are like, well, I'm really successful. I'm in my 50s. I just go hook up with a sugar baby or date somebody that's 20 or 25 years younger than me. It can still happen for men. And since women are not securing their partner when they're young and pretty and fertile and perky and all the other good things that they have to their advantage in the beginning, they're trying to play the game like men. Problem is, the rules do not work the same for both men and women. Men are not desired when they're young, unless they're super hot. Men are not desired when they're young. They're desired when they can provide and when they're smart and mature. And women are not desired when they're old and smart and mature. They're desired when they're young and hot. Women are playing the game of life like a man, and they are losing. But men are not losing because men know the rules. The rules haven't changed for men. So they're finding post-wall women are getting hammered by this. They say these skyrocketing rates are both intriguing and concerning, says Cheng, director of the Institute for Research on Healthy Aging and the Department of Cardiology at the Schmidt Heart Institute at Cedars-Sinai in Los Angeles. The condition is also known as Takotsubo cardiomyopathy and has been studied for decades in Japan and elsewhere. But it wasn't well known internationally until 2005 when the New England Journal of Medicine published research on it. Triggered by physical or emotional stress, and they have emotional stress underlined. Triggered by physical or emotional stress, broken heart syndrome causes the heart's main pumping chamber to temporarily enlarge and pump poorly. Patients experience chest pain and shortness of breath, symptoms similar to those of a heart attack. If they survive the initial phase of the disease, people often can recover in days or weeks. However, the longer-term effects are still being studied. Despite apparent recovery of heart muscle function, some studies show people who have a broken heart syndrome are at heightened risk to future cardiovascular events. Now, let me pause here for a say and say something like this. In the past, men were the larger risk to have a heart attack. So maybe before they were diagnosing this specific thing, maybe men's heart attacks had less to do with poor diet and exercise, and maybe men were going through this. A middle-aged man who loses his family and loses his children, maybe some of his heart attacks and stress-related events were due to this. The science hasn't, so it may be possible that there are a lot of men that do suffer from this. There might be a lot of men that when they go through this type of stress, men are much more successful than women at self-deleting, taking that remote control hole puncher and taking themselves out. So maybe men aren't in these numbers because maybe men that are suffering from this much emotional stress take themselves out. I don't know, and I'll be looking into that. But it does show that a very large portion of women who aren't self-deleting, who say that they're fine when they're younger, are hitting middle age and are basically giving themselves heart attacks because of emotional stress, specifically women older than 50. And we know that demographic is the I'm young, I'm strong, I'm beautiful, I'm empowered, I'm independent. All these men want me. I can sleep with all the Chads and the beautiful men that I want. These same women are the ones that reality comes crashing down, and I read article after article after article and dating profile after dating profile of women saying, I'm 38, 42, 45, 48. Why can't I find a man that's good enough? Why can't I find a man that wants me? I never had children, and I regret it. I'm going to have to work till I'm alone. There's no financially available men. I don't read a lot of articles out there about men complaining that there are no financially available women. I don't read a lot of articles about men not finding women. And there's a lot of men that don't, but they don't write articles about it. Usually what they do is they either deal with it and cope with it. They self-delete at a very alarmingly high rate, which I hope that gets corrected soon. And men find other men realizing, hey, I'm not in this alone. A lot of guys go through this. Maybe there's a community for me. And I think a lot of guys now are like, hey, you know what? I can hire a young little thing. You know, spicy work is an adult work is real work, and I'll hire a young little thing to get my physical needs out. And for my emotional needs, I'll hang out with the boys and we'll have a couple of beers and watch some sports on Sunday. I don't think the same is happening for women. They say more research is needed to understand the risks and reasons why broken heart syndrome seems to disproportionately affect middle-aged to older women. I kind of just explained that, I think. The end of menopause may play a role, she said, but so might an uptick in overall stress. You know, women are told, hey, be strong, go chase your career, you know, chase your dreams, you be a strong, powerful, you know, woman. What they don't say is if you take that route and you do not find a man, you will be working until the age of retirement at 65 or 60 or whatever, 62, whatever it is. Men, I know this from the day I went to go get my first job at 15 years old flipping burgers at a fast food place. Young Joker knew I would be working until I'm either rich or 65 years old. I knew that. Young women today think they can have it all. I'll be rich. I'll have a great job. I'll find the perfect husband. Then I'll stop and I'll become a mommy or whatever, or I'll work part-time and chase my dreams of, I don't know, painting or whatever. Well, hubby brings home the money and takes care of me and or the family. It's not happening anymore. And when you're 40 or 35, 40, 45-year-old woman, you say, I never found my man, and now I realize I got 20 years of work ahead of me until I can retire. This sucks. This wasn't the deal I was promised, and I am unhappy. And now it's affecting them physically. They say as we advance in age to take on more life and more work responsibilities, we experience higher stress levels, she said. And with increasing digitization around every aspect of our lives, environmental stressors have also intensified. The study arrives at a time when public health organizations have been delving deeper into the mind-heart-body connection. In January, the American Heart Association published a scientific statement on the connection, saying there were clear associations between physiological health and cardiovascular disease risk. When the study was done before the rise of the bug, Cheng said the stress of the pandemic has likely led to a rise in the number of recent cases of broken heart syndrome, many of them undiagnosed. The study, she says, serves as a potent reminder that everyone needs to be proactive about their mental health, especially those with cardiovascular risks. We can't avoid all stress in life, but it is important for patients to develop healthy coping mechanisms. Here's the thing, guys. Number one, yes, it's affecting a lot of women after the age of 50. Maybe it does affect men, but in different ways. Maybe it's just diagnosed as only a heart attack for men. Maybe guys are taking themselves out if they're really that brokenhearted. You know, part of what I do here and part of what I talk about is no one wants to hear just a very dry reading of the news. It's kind of boring. No one wants to sit and listen to my dumbass give my opinions on things and just give my opinions. Hey, here's my opinion as a, late 40s man. Because they're like, yeah, okay, opinions are like assholes. Everybody has one and they all stink. But the reason why I read these articles is to show that there is real-world correlations with a lot of the things that I and other content creators talk about. There is studies behind this stuff. There is math behind it. And in this case, women are getting hammered after the age of 50 with emotional distress. Again, it's in articles. It's in an article like this. And maybe men are too, but at least men, we're trying to combat it by talking about it, by saying, hey, I know you guys think life is going to turn out this way for you, but it's probably not. It's probably, no matter what age you are, it's time to adjust your expectations of what's going to happen in your life. And it's going to suck, and it may bum you out, but there's good news. You know about it. It is a problem you can solve, and there are millions, if not billions, of other men that are in the same boat you are, and that there are ways you can pull yourself out of this. You're not in this alone, and you can kind of have a game plan. You kind of know now how your life is going to work out by listening to content like this and looking at the statistics and the reports. Unfortunately for women, a lot of women live in a dream world where they think they can have it all. Feminism has told them they can have it all. They can be young, they can go to college, they can get hundreds of $1,000s in degrees or in dollars in debt to get the degree of their dream. They'll go get their dream job. They'll meet their man of their dreams. They'll have kids. They'll be taken care of. They'll live in a beautiful home on the hill with Chad and your 3 Chadlets, your cute babies that are all wonderful, happily ever after. And what's happening is they're going into school. They're getting passed around by the top 10 or 20% of men for like being used as a toy. They're discarded. They didn't find Mr. Perfect. They're not willing to settle on anything less. They end up getting into their 30s and 40s being single, freezing their eggs, getting a donor so they can hopefully have kids because they haven't found Mr. Perfect yet. Then they realize, okay, maybe I now have kids, but I'm single. I either become a ward of the state or I work until I'm dead. Nobody wants me because the guys that are successful and doing well and are decent looking are dating women that are 10, 15, 20 years younger than me. Bam, wall, alone. And they're coming to a very hard end of life realization or end of working realization. And it sucks for them. Not saying it's harder for them than it is for men. It's just different. They're trying to play the game by the men's rules, but they're women and they're failing. Men don't get to play by the women's rules. We're men. We still play by the men's rules. We know how this is going to turn out for us. And the best thing we can do is just be prepared. And then when real life happens to us, you go, damn, man, I guess statistics don't lie. I guess everybody that was talking about this stuff was right. And you can fight it and you can argue it all you want. And maybe you will be one of those very small percentage that somehow gets things to work out in the way that you like. And that's great for you. But you don't plan your life on a 2% chance. You plan your life on the 98% chance. And then if the 2% chance happens to you, you go, hey, look at me, lucky. But if you're the 98%, you go, yeah, it turned out pretty much like everybody's kind of expected how we thought this was. But women are living by the 2%, which is, everything's going to turn out perfect. And 100% of women expect it to happen to them. And 98% of them, 75%, whatever percent, is getting disappointed. And it's on the rise. And until women figure this out, that they're playing the game by the man's rules, but they're women, it's not going to turn out for them. They're going to have a bad time.